Sophia James had never felt so out of place in her life. The ballroom glittered with gold and crystal, chandeliers dripping light like liquid diamonds. Waiters in white gloves glided past with trays of champagne. Laughter mingled with the soft hum of violins. She stood near the edge of the crowd, hands wrapped tightly around a delicate glass of sparkling water, trying not to notice the stares. She wasn't used to nights like this, charity galas filled with the city's wealthiest and most powerful. But tonight wasn't about her. It was Damon Blackwell's night. Her billionaire boss stood at the center of it all, tall, poised, his black tuxedo tailored so precisely it looked sculpted to his frame. He had the kind of presence that made conversations falter and eyes follow. In the 6 months she'd worked for him, she'd seen him in countless boardrooms, under relentless media scrutiny, even in moments of quiet in his office. But she had never seen him like this. Smiling, though only faintly, his expression unreadable. Her stomach tightened. For 2 weeks now, she'd been living with an unshakable truth: Damon Blackwell was following her home. She'd seen his car more than once in her rearview mirror, shadowing her through the city streets. She'd tried to convince herself it was coincidence, but deep down, she knew better. And now he was walking toward the stage. The music faded. The crowd instinctively hushed. Damon took the microphone from the band leader, his gaze sweeping across the glittering room until it stopped, directly on her. "Before we continue," he began, voice smooth but carrying a weight that silenced every whisper, "I'd like to make an announcement." A ripple of curiosity moved through the guests. Sophia's grip on her glass tightened. "In my family," Damon continued, "we believe in honesty and loyalty. We believe that character is worth more than wealth, more than appearances." His voice was steady, but there was a subtle edge beneath it, a kind of restrained force that made Sophia's heart pound. "That's why, before I bless any commitment in my life, I make sure I know the truth." People began exchanging glances. "That's why, before asking a woman to be my wife," Damon said, and the words seemed to still the very air, "I decided to look a little deeper into her life." Gasps fluttered through the crowd. Several guests turned toward Sophia, whispers sparking like kindling. She froze, every muscle in her body taut. "What I found," Damon went on, "surprised me." Her pulse thundered in her ears. His eyes locked on hers, unflinching. And in that moment, Sophia's thoughts collided. Was this why he had been following her? Had every shadow drive home, every silent watch from across the street, been about uncovering something from her past? If so, what had he discovered? The ballroom was so quiet that Sophia could hear her own breathing. Every pair of eyes in the room was now fixed on her. The champagne bubbles in her glass seemed frozen in place. Damon's voice cut through the tension. "I learned," he said slowly, "that Sophia James wasn't always the person you see today." A few guests leaned forward, fascinated. "I learned that before she came to work for me, she walked away from her family in the middle of a crisis. That she left behind a brother who depended on her more than anyone else in the world. That she," he paused, gaze sharpening, "blamed him for everything that went wrong, when in truth, he was the one holding her together." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She felt the heat rising to her cheeks. Her brother, Ethan, the one person she never spoke about here, was now laid bare before strangers. From the corner of the room, she heard Natalie's sharp intake of breath. Somewhere behind her, someone murmured, "I didn't know she even had a brother." Sophia tried to speak, but her voice was barely a whisper. Why would you tell them that?" Damon ignored the question. He turned slightly, addressing the guests. "Character," he said, "is not built in the boardroom or in front of a camera. It's revealed in the moments no one is watching. That is why I had to know who she truly is before deciding if she is the woman I should trust with my future." Her legs felt unsteady. She glanced toward the door, every instinct screamed to leave. But then, his next words made her stop cold. Because I already know, Damon continued, that she is the woman who has been in danger for weeks, and doesn't even realize it. A murmur swept through the crowd. Sophia's eyes widened. Was this about him following her? Was this some twisted justification? She looked straight at him, heart pounding. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice trembling. Damon's lips curved into something between a smile and a warning. "We'll talk later, Sophia." And just like that, he handed the microphone back to the band leader. The music swelled again, guests resumed their chatter, and the moment dissolved into the glittering noise of the gala, but the damage was done. Everyone had seen it. Everyone had heard it. And Sophia knew one thing for certain: Damon Blackwell wasn't just following her home. He was playing a much bigger game. Sophia didn't remember leaving the ballroom. One moment she was standing there, surrounded by strangers' stares and champagne laughter. The next, she was out in the cold night air, her heels clicking against the marble steps of the hotel's grand entrance. Her chest ached, and her thoughts kept replaying Damon's words. Walked away from her family, danger for weeks, doesn't even realize it. She spotted Natalie waiting near the valet stand, phone in hand. What the hell was that? Natalie demanded the moment Sophia approached. I don't know, Sophia snapped, though her voice was shaky. I wish I did. Natalie glanced toward the hotel doors. It looked like he was calling you out. In front of everyone. Sophia shook her head. No, it wasn't just that. She stopped herself, glancing around at the drivers and guests milling about. Too many ears. Natalie lowered her voice. Sophia, I need to tell you something. And I didn't want to text it earlier because I didn't want it on my phone. Sophia frowned. What? Natalie hesitated, then leaned in. Damon didn't just follow you tonight. I've seen his car behind yours at least 4 times in the past 2 weeks. Sophia's heart kicked against her ribs. You're sure? Same black Aston Martin. Same tinted windows. I thought maybe it was coincidence, but, now. After what he just did in there. Sophia rubbed her arms against the cold, trying to steady her breathing. Why would he do that? What does he think I've done? Natalie's eyes darted past her shoulder. You might be able to ask him yourself. Sophia turned. Damon had stepped out of the hotel, his tuxedo jacket now unbuttoned, hands in his pockets. His eyes found hers instantly, as though he'd known exactly where she was. He didn't approach. He just stood there, watching her from the top of the steps, while the city lights flickered behind him. Sophia swallowed hard, then tore her gaze away. I'm going home, she muttered. Natalie called after her, do you want me to come with you? Sophia shook her head. No. I need to think. She climbed into her car, but as she pulled into the street, the unease returned, the sense of being watched. She checked her mirrors. Nothing. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that Damon wasn't finished with her. Not by a long shot. 2 days later, Sophia's curiosity overpowered her better judgment. She had spent the last 48 hours replaying Damon's words at the gala, Natalie's warning, and the countless times she'd spotted that sleek black Aston Martin in her mirror. If Damon wouldn't give her answers, she would find them herself. By late afternoon, she was parked just down the street from his estate, a sprawling stretch of land hidden behind iron gates. It felt ridiculous, like something out of a spy movie, but she couldn't shake the need to see for herself what he was hiding. She didn't have to wait long. A delivery truck pulled up to the gates, and as they opened to let it in, Sophia slipped her car inside behind it. Her heart pounded as she drove slowly along the winding driveway, stopping behind a row of tall hedges. From there, she could see the backyard through a gap in the greenery. Damon was standing off to the side, arms folded, watching something. Sophia followed his gaze, and froze. His 3-year-old nephew, Elliot, blonde, fragile, pale, was balancing on top of someone's feet, laughing uncontrollably. His legs, once limp and motionless, were now straightened, knees flexed, body bouncing with joy. The woman beneath him, lying flat on her back with her legs in the air, was Amara, the new live-in caretaker Sophia had heard whispers about. A young black woman. No medical training, no special credentials, just a quiet voice and gentle hands. She was laughing with him. Her dark hair was pulled back with a white headband, and her jeans creased as she shifted, steadying Elliot like an airplane on her feet. Damon's expression was unreadable, but Sophia noticed something she had never seen in him before, a softness. Amara gently brought Elliot down, rolled him off her legs, and helped him stand. Not holding him, not guiding, just letting him be. He didn't fall. Sophia felt her breath catch. Elliot stood there on 2 feet, smiling, breathing, glowing. The boy who, according to a rumor she'd overheard at the office, hadn't taken a single step in 3 years. The boy doctors said could walk but wouldn't. The boy Damon had nearly given up on. And now, here he was, walking. Sophia's chest tightened. This wasn't therapy. This was something else. Something that explained the shadow of hope in Damon's eyes. She leaned in closer, trying to hear the words exchanged between Damon and Amara, but a twig snapped under her heel. Damon's head whipped around. His eyes locked onto hers through the hedge. Sophia froze. He took a step toward her. Sophia's first instinct was to turn and run, but she knew it would only make things worse. Damon closed the distance in long, unhurried strides, his polished shoes crunching against the gravel path. Even from behind the hedge, his presence was overwhelming. "I could ask you what you're doing here," he said, voice low, "but I think we both know you'd lie." Sophia's cheeks burned. "I wasn't." "You weren't what?" "Following me. Trespassing on my property." The words stung because they were true. Still, she lifted her chin. "I wanted to understand why you've been following me home for weeks." For a moment, his expression didn't change. Then his gaze flicked briefly toward the yard, where Elliot was now seated in the grass, Amara showing him how to blow dandelion seeds into the wind. "That's not something I'm ready to explain," he said finally. "Not yet." Her frustration spiked. "Then why the spectacle at the gala? Why bring up my family? Why humiliate me in front of people I barely know?" His jaw tightened. "Because the truth has a way of drawing out the people who would rather it stayed buried. I needed to see who would react." "That doesn't make any sense." "It will," Damon said. Sophia searched his face for some trace of the man who just watched his nephew take his first steps with something like pride in his eyes. She saw it there, fleeting, but real. And beneath it, she saw something else, worry. He stepped closer. "Stay away from certain places, Sophia. And certain people." Her pulse quickened. "What people?" But he didn't answer. Instead, he gestured toward the driveway. "You should leave. Before you find yourself caught in something you can't control." She hesitated, but his tone left no room for argument. Sophia turned, walking back toward her car. Her mind was spinning, not just with questions about Damon's warning, but about the boy, Elliot. If Damon could care that deeply about a child, what else was he capable of hiding? The next afternoon, Sophia decided to ignore Damon's warning. If he wouldn't give her answers, she'd find them herself, and the mention of certain people had lodged in her mind like a splinter. A tip from a contact in legal aid led her to a rundown neighborhood on the city's edge. Paint peeled from walls, and the air smelled faintly of gasoline and damp earth. Children played barefoot in the street, their laughter thin against the hollow quiet of the place. Sophia stopped in front of a weathered wooden house with a sagging porch. She was about to knock when she heard voices around the side. She followed the sound, and stopped short. A teenage girl, maybe 15, sat cross-legged in the dirt, reading aloud from a battered book. Next to her sat another girl, younger, with tangled hair and a worn dress. They were holding hands, almost like the younger one was afraid to let go. Sophia stepped forward. "Hi. I'm..." The older girl's head whipped up. Her eyes narrowed. "You shouldn't be here." Before Sophia could reply, a shadow moved at the corner of her vision. Damon emerged from behind the fence. His sudden appearance made her heart jolt. Jessica, that was the older girl's name, Sophia learned later, grabbed the younger girl's hand. Damon's gaze flicked to their joined hands, and for the first time since she'd met him, Sophia saw his guarded expression soften. "You've been coming here every day, teaching her in secret?" Damon asked Jessica. Jessica nodded. "I wanted to tell you, but I was scared." He looked at her, voice lowering. "Scared of me?" Jessica's reply was almost a whisper. "Scared you wouldn't let me see her again." Damon turned his attention to the younger girl, Scola. She flinched under his gaze. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said slowly. "Take me to your mother. Please." Scola took a shaky step back. "Sir, please don't punish her. She doesn't know what I do here. She's not well. If I stop coming, I'll stay away. Just don't hurt her." "I won't," Damon said gently. "I just want to see her." Jessica looked at him. "Promise you won't chase Scola away." Damon stared at them both, two children from completely different worlds, bound by something neither Sophia nor he could fully understand. "I promise," he said. Sophia stood frozen. She didn't know who these girls were or why Damon was here, but she knew one thing: every time she thought she'd figured him out, he showed her another side she didn't expect. And each new side made the mystery deeper. It was raining hard when Sophia found Charlotte. The address had come from an old court record Natalie dug up, a custody dispute involving Damon's name nearly a decade ago. The small, weather-stained house sat on the edge of town, surrounded by an unkempt garden where the rain pooled into shallow, muddy lakes. Sophia hesitated before knocking, but the door opened before she could raise her hand. A woman stood there, her hair plastered to her cheeks, mascara smudged under her eyes. Two small children clung to her legs, twins, no more than 4, their tiny faces wet from both rain and tears. The twins started crying in the car, their small voices calling for their daddy, and Charlotte felt something inside her chest crack open. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. "At least let me take some of Damon's things," she pleaded, her dignity hanging by a thread. "Something for the children to remember their father by. You've taken enough from this family." The woman standing on the porch, Margaret, Charlotte's former mother-in-law, spoke with finality, her voice cutting through the rain. "You have your car, you have your clothes, and you have those children. That's more than you came with." Sophia watched from a few steps away, feeling like she was witnessing the unraveling of a life. Charlotte stood there in the pouring rain, watching everything she'd built be stripped away. But even as her voice broke, Sophia could see there was something she wasn't saying. Damon had been secretive in those final months with Charlotte, not about money troubles, Charlotte admitted in a low voice, but about something else. Something he'd been protecting. The way he whispered my name in those last moments before we left, the strange urgency in his voice, Charlotte said, when he tried to tell me about the box in Vincent's office. Sophia's breath caught. "What box?" Charlotte's eyes darted to her. "If you find it, you'll understand everything." A car pulled up then, its headlights sweeping across the yard. Charlotte turned back toward the twins, her expression tightening. "You should go. If Damon finds you here, he'll think I told you too much." Sophia stood rooted to the spot as the rain drenched her hair and coat. The box in Vincent's office felt like a key, one that could unlock every question she had about Damon's shadowing her. But why did she have the sinking feeling that finding it would make things far more dangerous? Sophia didn't waste time after leaving Charlotte's house. If the box in Vincent's office was real, she needed to get to it before Damon, or whoever else might be watching, did. Vincent and Company was one of Damon's smaller satellite companies, operating from a nondescript building downtown. Sophia figured she could slip in after hours. Her paralegal credentials might get her past security without raising suspicion. She wasn't expecting to find a familiar face leaning against her car in the parking lot, a boy of about 12, clutching a backpack too big for his thin frame. "Liam," she said, recognizing Damon's godson. "What are you doing here?" He looked uneasy. "Damon asked me to give you a ride. Said you shouldn't walk alone at night." Sophia hesitated but finally unlocked the car. They drove in silence for a few minutes, the city lights streaking past in blurred ribbons. She kept thinking about the box, what might be in it, why Damon hadn't told her about it, why Charlotte's voice had been so urgent. Halfway to the office, Liam's demeanor changed. He stopped fidgeting with his phone, stared out the window, and went unnervingly quiet. "Everything okay, buddy?" Sophia asked. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his voice was small, hesitant. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course. You can tell me anything." Another long pause. And then, in a rush of words that hit her like a physical blow. "It's a trap, Sophia. They set you up." Sophia slammed on the brakes, pulling over so abruptly that the car behind her honked and swerved. Her heart was pounding as she turned to look at him. "What did you just say?" Liam's eyes were wide, filled with a mixture of fear and guilt. "I heard them talking on the phone. They know you're going to Vincent's. They're waiting for you." The world seemed to tilt. "Who's waiting for me?" He shook his head. "I don't know. But they're not Damon's friends. Please don't go there tonight. Please." Sophia's grip tightened on the steering wheel. If Liam was telling the truth, then someone else knew she was looking for the box, and that meant Damon wasn't the only one following her. Sophia didn't go to Vincent's that night. Instead, she parked across the street from a dusty roadside cafe on the city's outskirts, the meeting place Liam had whispered about before slipping away. He'd told her the person inside knew everything about the box, and why Damon had been shadowing her. She wasn't sure what she expected, maybe a quiet meeting, a tense exchange of words. What she got was something else entirely. A Bentley Sleek pulled up on the dusty roadside, its polished black body gleaming under the dim yellow streetlights. Heads turned as the door opened. No one expected what came next. A woman stepped out, tall, radiant, her figure wrapped in an elegant cream-colored jumpsuit. Her heels clicked confidently on the pavement, her presence turning every head. It was Monica Williams. People knew her. She wasn't just any woman. She was the Monica Williams, billionaire tech genius, Africa's software queen, the moniker behind tech, the face on Forbes Africa, the one every mother prayed their daughters would become. But tonight, Monica wasn't here for an interview or a board meeting or to shop for exotic wine. She was walking straight toward the ragged man sitting on the cafe steps, the man Sophia recognized instantly from the old Vincent and Company employee files she'd dug through. That was Jordan Price, former head of security at Vincent's, and, if Charlotte's story was true, the man who had last seen the mysterious box. Monica paused in front of him and smiled. "My name is Monica," she said softly. Jordan squinted up at her, wary. And then, just as everyone's jaws dropped, she did the unthinkable. "So," she said, her voice carrying over the quiet street, "I'm asking you something crazy. Will you marry me?" Gasps erupted from the cafe doorway. Sophia stood frozen, trying to understand the play. Then she saw it, Damon stepping out from the Bentley's far side, keeping to the shadows. Monica's public proposal wasn't real. It was a smokescreen, a distraction to draw eyes and cameras so Damon could approach Jordan without spooking him. Jordan's startled laugh softened into something else, recognition. And in that moment, Sophia knew Damon wasn't just protecting her. He was moving chess pieces she didn't even know were on the board. The cafe had emptied out hours ago. Sophia sat at a corner table, the rain outside blurring the streetlights into golden halos. Across from her, Damon placed a weathered, brass-hinged box on the table. "This," he said quietly, "is why I followed you." Her heart thudded. "You could have just told me." He met her gaze. "And risk someone intercepting us before I knew who was watching you?" "No. You had to think I was just the overbearing boss." She glanced at the box. "What's in it?" Damon rested his hand on the lid. "Your father's research. Files from the project he worked on before he died, the one Vincent and company tried to bury. He trusted me to protect it, but when he passed, it vanished. I thought it was gone forever, until I found out it had been hidden in a storage unit rented in your name." Sophia's pulse quickened. "In my name? You didn't even know," he said, voice gentler now. "But they did. That's why I kept close. Not to control you, to make sure you stayed alive long enough to open this." She swallowed hard. "And the gala? The public humiliation?" He didn't flinch. "To see who would react. To force the people hunting the box to reveal themselves." Her fingers hovered over the box, the metal cool against her skin. Slowly, she lifted the lid. Inside were folders of neatly bound documents, a USB drive, and a photograph, her father shaking hands with Damon, both smiling. Her vision blurred. "Why didn't you just give this to the police?" "Because the system is bought," Damon said. "But with this, you and I can make it public. Every fraud, every cover-up. Your father's name deserves the truth." Sophia blinked back tears. "All this time, I thought you were some arrogant billionaire who thought he could watch me like I was property." His lips curved in the faintest smile. "I was watching you like you were a life I couldn't afford to lose." The words settled between them, heavy and real. Outside, the rain slowed to a drizzle. Sophia closed the box, clutching it to her chest. "What now?" she asked. "Now," Damon said, standing and offering his hand, "we finish what your father started." She hesitated only a second before taking it. "Dear viewers. Sometimes the people watching you aren't there to control you, they're there to protect you from dangers you can't see yet. Don't be quick to judge someone's actions before you understand their intentions, the truth might change everything."